day 4, does it feel like you're hitting your stride now and starting to get things exactly where you want them and tempo? And
Well, yeah, there's always little changes. It's the first time the bubble was down, so we had some different spatial things. It looks a little bit different. Guys are coming back from spring break, so making sure we're back in the swing of things and don't forget what we did the first 3 days and continue to build upon it.
Do you think they translated that well? And
I think so.
over?
I think so. I know the finish of practice is what we were worried about last week, or 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, whatever it was before spring break, that, their minds started to drift, I think, a little bit just because of spring break, and they probably weren't used to, a little bit length of practice and things like that. But we talked about it, we addressed it. I think they finished and focused in pretty well today.
How's it been for you adjusting more to paying attention to the offensive side? You've been, defense only for so long. How's that been?
I don't even know if it's as much as the offensive side. It's even staying out of the individual stuff and things like that. They're just trying to find and find the balance to being able to do those things. So from being with the defense to being with the offense to where to spend a whole lot of your time. I know meetings-wise and things like that. I spent mostly a lot more with the offensive line and the quarterbacks and just making sure I got a grasp and a handle on what we're doing in there.
What are your thoughts on the quarterbacks and what you've seen from those 3 guys so far this spring?
I see a progression. I think that's the best thing we can talk about is, you've seen a progression. You see, from day 1 to day 2 to day 3, and actually a big step, I think, from last week to this week. And, again, it's going to be tough. Those are the guys that are going to be scrutinized the most between them and the head coach and what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they're learning a new offense. And so I think for them is taking it in stride and taking some pride and learning. And I think that's what we're going to continue to focus and stress to these guys, that, that there's you say it's important to you, then you got to show it. And in order to do that, you got to do some things. We can't spoon feed you everything in that position in particular. You got to study, you got to learn, and you got to generate some thoughts yourself as well.
Mike Boone back out there today at full go. Was it nice to see him? You feel a little better watching the offense with him back there?
You do. I mean, you got some confidence in that, and we're trying to hold him back as much as we possibly can. I mean, I don't think we handed him the ball. We threw him the ball maybe a few times a day, and just trying to be smart with it, because you love those guys that are chomping at the bit, and he wants nothing but to be in there more and more and more and more. And you like those ones you got to try to hold back. So we're gonna be smart here through the spring and make sure we know what we got before we get rolling there in fall camp.
Some drops today from the wide receivers a little bit, and just is that maybe that rust of coming back from?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the balance, and some of them all of a sudden they drop a couple, and the next thing they're catching them, but they're securing them, they're falling to the ground at times. Just getting the confidence in what it is that you're doing. And, that's what we try to tell them afterwards. We're going to put pressure on them. We're going to be really hard on them, and it's very intentional for what we're doing, so that, they can learn to handle not just the game itself, but the pressure and the excitement and things like that to see how they'll do in front of, crowds and when we really counts.